Hi everyone, so in this video we are going to be talking about aggregate functions, and for this I've created a new table in my database called currencies, and that's what we are going to be using. So let me just show you the contents of this table. So it basically contains the country code, the currency code, and then the value in USD. So basically what this means is that 1 Great Britain pound is equal to 1 US dollar is equal to 0.81 Great Britain pounds. So that's what it means, and you can find this table on my GitHub repository. I'll update that. So aggregate functions are useful when we want some value that combines multiple rows from our column from our database. So for example, let's say I want the sum of all of these. I could do something like this: select sum of value USD from currencies, and if I run this, it's going to give me the sum, and let's just try it out, and it gives me 252.22. I could also just rename this to let's say sum or something like this, and that'll give me the renamed column right here. So this sum is the aggregate function that we are using here, and other common aggregate functions are maximum, minimum, average. There's also one called count. So let's just try out something. Select min of value USD from currencies, and let's try this out. So it gives me 0.81, which was for the Great Britain pound. So basically what this gives me is the strongest currency from my table, and similarly I've got the max function, which I can use like this, and this gives me the weakest currency in my table. I think this one is the Pakistani rupee, but that's about aggregate functions. And there's also one called count, and that's one I want to talk about. So within the count parentheses, I'll just say star, and then I'll do from currencies. So this basically gives me the number of rows in my table. So if I do this, it gives me 5, and let's just check this out, and that was correct. It has 5 columns right here. So what this star means is basically what do I want to count, and I can also just do something like a where clause here, and in this case I don't know whether a where clause would make sense, but I could do something like where value USD greater than 1, and let's just try running this. So it gives me 3, meaning apart from the Great Britain pound and the US dollar itself, all of the other currencies that I have in my table are weaker than my US dollar. So this is the count of the currencies which are weaker than my US dollar. So this where clause will always be evaluated before it does the aggregation. So that's what it means. And at this point, let's take a look at our countries table. And if you see here, I've got this region ID which tells me what continent the country belongs to. So let's just say I wanted to just count the number of regions from this countries table right here. Of course I could do it using the regions table, but I don't want to do that. Let's just say for some reason I want to count it using this region table itself. So what I can do is I can say select count of region ID, or I could even just do a star, but if I did a star it would just give me the number of rows as we discussed earlier. So if I do a region ID from countries, and let's just try running this, as you can see it still gives me 13, and that's because the number of region IDs every every row has a region ID, so it just gives me the count of that. So this doesn't make too much sense. What I can do instead to make this work is I can add the word distinct here, and this time it will just give me the count of distinct region IDs, which is supposed to be 5. So as you can see, it gives me 5 right here, and that's what I wanted. And this basically sums up our discussion about these aggregate functions. You could try playing around with these aggregate functions, and we're going to be working more with these in the subsequent videos, where we take a look at how we can group our rows together and how we can put conditions on these aggregate functions. So we'll see that in the next video and the video that follows after that. So stay tuned for it.